Hello, thank you for listening. This is the near death experience of Tony, and this experience occurred in 1955. Open quote. I was on my way home from school. I was wondering why I shouldn't walk between parked cars, but I did anyway to cross the street. The next thing I remember is that I am above my body watching my mother crying that I am dead. I was laughing at her as I was above her watching. I felt the presence of another person next to me. I was not disturbed by this, as I felt familiar with him. I guessed that it was a him. This was not expressed either way. I remember turning to this person and trying to look into his eyes. I couldn't really focus on his face, and it was almost painful to look. I turned back to the events that were happening. I was watching them load me into the ambulance. I was having a conversation and laughing with this person. I looked again at him, and I knew that I knew him really well. I recognized that I knew him before I came in here, into this body. I felt really happy being with him. The more that I looked at him, the more that I saw how long I knew him. I actually remembered knowing him even before this universe was created. I could actually see this. I looked and looked, and I couldn't see any time that I didn't know him. I could see long before any of this stuff came into creation. He called me by a different name that I recognized. It wasn't like a sound, but rather a feeling that I recognized as me. I felt as though he was my oldest friend. The communication was in whole concepts. When I reflect back, I can see what he said as though it was in a 360-degree viewpoint. Nothing was missing. He told me to follow him, and I did. The next thing I remember was that I was standing in front of this large red book. He told me to look, and I did. At first, I couldn't recognize anything. It was blurry, like when I looked into his face. Then things started to clear up. Whatever I was looking at was like a moving picture. I remember that I was at first surprised that it was in color. I guess that it reminded me of a television. Back in 1955, if you did have a TV, it was black and white. Anyway, the more that I looked, the faster that the scenes moved. After a bit, the scenes stopped. When we talked a bit about what I'm not sure, but I had the feeling that I would remember. Then he wanted me to go with him again. This time, we went through a series of spirals of different colors. When we stopped, I felt as though we really didn't move anywhere, but rather these spirals moved through us. I then began to be aware of other beings, lots of beings, more than I can count. I could see all around, front, back, sideways, wherever I placed my attention is where I saw. Whomever I saw, I felt as though I was in love with that being. There was no distinction as to gender, only a being. I knew that I was home. It all felt so natural. Then I knew that it was my time to go. Almost instantly, I was at the hospital. I was watching the doctors put me in a crib like bed. I remember not liking it at all. Then I saw a girl I knew from the neighborhood. Now I was embarrassed that she could see me in a crib. The next thing that I knew, I was awake in my body with so much pain. I remember seeing my mother. Then I passed out again into darkness. End quote. What a great story that was, and I especially loved the details of the presence or the guide or the guardian angel. Um, Talking about couldn't focus on his face, that he hurt his eyes, and then the longer that he did look at him, the more that he remembered him, going back before creation. And then there was another excellent little tidbit there. Maybe, is it your heavenly name? He called me by a different name that I recognized. It wasn't like a sound, but rather a feeling that I recognized as me. Totally interesting. There are some questions. Question: at the time of your experience, was there an associated life-threatening event? Answer: accident, hit by a car. My body hit a telephone pole. My head cracked open. Question: did time seem to speed up or slow down? Answer: I felt like I could see the past and the future, especially when reading the book. Also, it seemed as though I had been there for days when really only an hour or two had passed. Question: did you suddenly seem to understand everything? Answer: I am not sure that I want to share what I felt and understood, as it is very much different than what we understand on Earth. Question: did scenes from your past come back to you? Answer: my past flashed before me out of control. I remembered past existences. Question: the experience included, answer, visions of the future. Question: did scenes from the future come to you? Answer: I don't like to get into this. I did see things that could happen, and I saw solutions to these situations. I don't think that humans are willing to make these changes. Question: did you come to a border or point of no return? Answer: I came back but didn't decide to return. In fact, it didn't occur to me either way. Question: what was your religion prior to your experience? Answer: liberal. Question: what did you have a change in your values or beliefs because of your experience? Answer: yes. I understood so much more. But for many years, there was a large gap between my inner awareness and my human awareness. I felt like two people for a long time. It was very difficult coming to terms with this. Question: do you have any psychic, non-ordinary, or other special gifts after your experience that you did not have before the experience? Answer: yes, I still do. Question: are there one or several parts of the experience that are especially meaningful or significant to you? Answer: feeling scared a lot, well into my early 20s, yet at the same time having a great spiritual life. The only problem with this is that other people didn't see spirituality as I did. Question: have you ever shared this experience with others? Answer: yes, very rarely and not fully. Be interested to get the full story. Question: and at any time in your life, has anything ever reproduced any part of the experience? Answer: yes. I often experience deja vu. Sometimes have dreams that predict my future and others. Sometimes somebody will say something, and it's like a keyword. Then I have this remembrance. Things become a little more in place, and I am left with the feeling that things are where they should be. End quote. Any questions? That was a good one. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.